Hello, this is the fourth in a series of videos on the concept of benefit, or maslaha, in the thought of the Damascene jurist Ibn Taymiyyah. The topic of this video is violence and patience. Ibn Taymiyyah is well known today for his three fatwas against the Mongols. The Mongols invaded Syria 3 times between 1299 and 1303, and then they invaded a 4th time in 1312. Ibn Taymiyyah wrote the longest and harshest of his fatwas for the 4th invasion after the Mongol ruler converted to Shi'ism in 1309. In this fatwa, Ibn Taymiyyah accuses the Mongols of corrupting the Islamic religion, and he equates them to unbelievers. Ibn Taymiyyah wrote the 2 shorter fatwas for the earlier invasions of 1299 to 1303. In these 2 fatwas, he says the Mongols must be fought because they do not adhere to the laws of Islam, but he does not accuse them of unbelief. Ibn Taymiyyah wrote these fatwas as part of a campaign against a foreign invader. However, radical jihadists today use the longest fatwa to justify calling even their own rulers unbelievers. They compare their rulers to the Mongols, and then they call those rulers unbelievers. This is something that Ibn Taymiyyah himself never did. Egypt and Syria were ruled by the Mamluks in his time. Ibn Taymiyyah did not think the Mamluks were very pious, but he never called them unbelievers, and he did not call for rebellion against them either. His reasons had to do with calculations of benefit. Ibn Taymiyyah permitted exhortation of rulers and civil disobedience, but he completely opposed violent insurrection and rebellion. No matter how oppressive a ruler might be, attempting to overthrow the ruler would always cause more harm than benefit. Ibn Taymiyyah expresses this with the saying, 60 years of an oppressive ruler is better than 1 night with no ruler. The radical Egyptian group al-gama'a, al-Islamiyya uses Ibn Taymiyyah's thinking here in an interesting way. The Gama'a launched attacks against the Egyptian government from the late 1980s into the 1990s. The Gama'a said the Egyptian government was apostate because it did not uphold Islamic law fully. Then, suddenly in July 1997, Gama'a leaders started calling for an end to violence against the Egyptian state. In 2002, they issued manifestos that revoked the call to jihad against the state. One of these manifestos was called the Initiative to Stop the Violence. The Gama'a appeals to a number of medieval scholars to make its argument, and one of these is Ibn Taymiyyah. The passage from Ibn Taymiyyah begins, "The law came to obtain benefits and perfect them, to obstruct detriments and reduce them. It makes preponderant the best of what is good and the least of what is evil. It came to obtain the greatest of 2 benefits by foregoing the lesser of the 2, and to repel the greater of 2 detriments by bearing the lesser of the 2. On this basis, the Gama'a Islamiyya reasons that the Sharia, or the law, forbids their earlier violence because it caused too much harm and detriment. Their violence killed a lot of people, and it led to the destruction of homes and mosques. And still the political and social injustices remained. The violence had not brought any benefit. So the proper way forward was patience. That patience would be worth more on the day of judgment than the wanton violence of earlier days. Moreover, jihadi terrorism and bloodshed had given Islam a bad name in the outside world. So, the Gama'a concludes, it is to the benefit of all of us to stand firm against these detriments, hoping for the reward of God and yearning for His grace and mercy. We can ask how the Gama'a reconciles itself to an Egyptian government that does not impose Islamic law according to their wishes. Their reply is that the law cannot be abrogated. However, the government may have reasons for not applying it fully. It may be due to international pressure or concern for peaceful Christian-Muslim relations. But it is not permitted to declare the ruler an unbeliever. The Gama'a follows Ibn Taymiyyah in calling for patience in the face of injustice. Radical jihadis follow Ibn Taymiyyah in taking up arms against a perceived threat to religion. There is clearly a tension in his thought. It is clear, however, historically speaking, that Ibn Taymiyyah never called for rebellion against his own Mamluk rulers. He was no revolutionary, and the al-gama'a al-Islamiyya, in its initiative, is more consistent with the pattern of Ibn Taymiyyah's life and thought than radical jihadis. The next video shifts our attention to Ibn Taymiyyah's unique views on benefit and theology. Please join me for that discussion of wise purposes in God's acts.